Hi, Alfred's cracked here. Say, been on the road lately? I made this the other day for a video and haven't published that video yet. But I thought I would warm up by hitting on this some. This was off a big, skinny, weird nodule along the lines of, it wasn't like this, but it was long and thin. I'm not awake yet. I'm trying to get everything arranged around me here. It seems like every time I make a video that I want to show y'all something, it's not that I mess up the napping, but there's just several things that are constant problems. One problem is that I just never seem to stay in the frame on the setup, so I'm trying to do that a little bit better today. This is bad to start out on. This is the first thing I hit for the day because I haven't warmed up, but this is such a bad rock that I figured this can be my warm-up rock. I'm also at the dreaded time when my large abrader is nearing its death and I need to break in a new one and get the binder off of it and get it working well. That's always a traumatic time for me. That's kind of a tough rock. This was not a great leave, but it was such a difficult reduction from the standpoint of being a giant sausage that you wonder why I just hit so hard on that and fluted it. It needed it, that's why. It is extremely dangerous at times to be too hesitant or tentative in whacking a rock. If you're to a stage of reduction where you're getting if you're to a stage of reduction where things are critical as far as you've gotten kind of thin or you were a little bit slow in dealing with a big mass or a big thickness area that needs to come off there. It may seem slightly counterintuitive to you, but if you're too careful, you're going to break it. And you might say, what do I mean by that? Well, kind of a bad analogy, but sometimes baseball pitchers get in trouble and start aiming instead of pitching. It doesn't work. Try and do things too fine and mess up. One of the major things that I haven't addressed enough, I've emphasized abrading, and I've done that because a heavily abraded or a well abraded edge is in a way the easiest thing for people, generally speaking, to deal with. Because working off of thin edges is better a lot of the time, but it's way more difficult to master as a technique. because you have to do everything way more right. So but the problem is that once you get things fairly thin and all, you're at greater risk than you were, and you don't really think about it necessarily because, I mean, everything's just going along, you've been napping for an hour or whatever. But silently and stealthily, your preform has been getting more and more easy to break by virtue getting thinner. Well, one of the main things that causes breakage is when you fail to take a flake and it transfers the shock to the whole piece instead of just the flake that you were trying to take. So that's the point that I was trying to get at with that not awake yet roundabout description. Make them go. If you break it, you break it, but not that it makes any difference if it's broken, but I think I'd rather, if I was a preform, I'd rather die a glorious death at a big monster whack than just get nibbled to death. But I'm not sure I should extend analogies like that to rocks, because I really don't think rocks give much of a flip. I'm just trying to catch, that's so steep, I'm trying to just bring it up a little bit. It's not far enough back to come over here, but it's too steep to knock into this because of that high spot, so I'm trying to just get it to come up a tiny bit. None of this is actually what I want to be doing, but I'm trying to warm up and get awake. Usually because people seem to like videos with humor more than videos with great napping. I try and wait till I'm in a crazy mood to make videos, but when I'm in a crazy mood, sometimes the stuff I say is so outrageous. And I'm like, well, I don't want to post that. Upside down, everything. If you wonder, you know, why I'm just whacking away like crazy on this, it's like 2 inches thick still in the middle or something. Plus, I don't really care about it because I don't. If you wonder why I'm not supporting on the ends really, if I break this thing with this these flakes going across it, then oh well. That angle wasn't right, but I thought that I might be able to force the flake into something other than a terrible hinge. I'm trying to break in this other abrader because of the impending loss of my favorite one. Just lowering that a little bit. I didn't really do too much with that. I could have pushed harder on it. Part of my problem is I'm exhausted. I actually have been moving a lot of rock around and hitting big stuff a lot. Oh, and that's something else I want to mention to you. I had not realized over the years, I've been trying to do everything all along. Kind of. And I had never spent a lot of time focusing on just doing big work a lot. You know, major reduction by facing and stuff. And so lately, I've just been doing a bunch of large work instead of bringing stuff on down and making small stuff and points and things. And that's been a real eye-opener. Because I think it's really been helpful to me to get in a lot of quality time doing the larger stuff. This just needs to come up. I just need to lose the width, and I need to go ahead and do it. Supposedly only 20% chance of rain today, but it's awfully overcast. There's going to be a mad scramble here if it starts raining because of the setup. You'll appreciate that the back of the tripod, the back leg is being held in position by a bucket of artifacts. That doesn't mess up too much in the sound. Alright, I'm fixing to. It's still not right. Well, let's see if we can do a giant flake here. That's not the one I meant. I meant one back that way. But hang on a sec. If you want to do big work, you have to learn how to manipulate and use carefully heavier tools. If I was using any smaller bopper for this particular stuff, it just won't do what it needs to do. I'm trying to set this up semi-carefully because, number one, I want to get a lot of good done with it, which is the exact opposite of number two. See this? There's a ridge. There's that. Number two is right in the middle of the dang. See how that spread out wide and cut off most of that hinge? I'm right in the middle of the workpiece, and that's obviously about the most risky place I could be trying to take a big old huge hit, except on the end. So we'll freehand this. Trying to sink it a little bit. Well, I mean, that's helping. I think this is going to be one of the finer Gary drills on the planet, because people are going to look at that and say, oh wow, that's gnarly. To me, gnarly is an extreme compliment. I can post something super flaked and gnarly on Instagram and it'll get like 103 likes. And then I can take and post anything out of mahogany obsidian, you know, which is as common as dirt in the world, where you can't even see the flaking on it, and it's round as a sausage, and it'll get 247 likes. Not that I'm a likes fiend, but it hurts my motivation to excel when people don't recognize excellence from color. I'm so funny. That cracked me so up. By the way, you know how I'm always talking about support? Don't use too much. See that little hinge right there? See that? That's because of the support. I pushed on it more than... I had too much support on it for the amount of strike and the weight of the percussor. Now that one, on the other hand, did a good thing. Anyway, this is boring. Okay, my next point that I was trying to make, not really a point, but another point. Oh, it's 17 minutes. I will be right back. You need to see this one. Okay, hang on.